Zuburbia Green Vintage proudly presents the Vintage Picks of the Week for the week ending April 12th, 2010. Vintage fashionistas like to be unique, and while we might succumb to an occasional mass-market purchase, we much prefer seeking out the unusual and the one-of-a-kind, which is why I fell in love with Monday's Vintage Picks of the Day. These hand-painted shoes by Coco Punks could easily be vintage collectibles down the road. Each pair is lovingly hand-painted, and no style is ever repeated or duplicated. Pick your favorite or commission your own custom order. Either way, they're artistic finds for a vintage fashionista. Available at Coco Punks on Etsy. There were loads of sheer outfits strutting down the spring runways, but this is a look that can be a bit tricky to pull off for a modern woman who spends her days in offices, schools, and grocery stores. It is possible, however, to embrace these light, flowing fabrics at any age and in any part of the country. Tuesday's Vintage Pick of the Day, for example, features a fabulous vintage blouse from the 1980s that has plenty of sex appeal when styled with a strapless bra. But it's easy to tame this look and make it behave more appropriately by simply pairing it with a tank or camisole, throwing it on over a strapless dress or a black jumpsuit, or simply using it as a cover-up at the beach. However you choose to style it, this is a piece of sheer genius for a vintage fashionista. Available at Nasty Gal. 3, 2, 1. The countdown to swimsuit season has begun, and that means there will be a whole lot more lunges, crunches, and bicep curls happening all across America. Whatever personal fitness method of choice you use to stay in shape, the most important thing is that you stick with it. After all, it's not about having the perfect body, it's about being healthy and having a body that pleases you. So get out there and get moving. And if you need a little more inspiration, I found that hanging a fantabulous little swimsuit in plain sight is a surefire way to get you going. Just looking at something as luscious as Wednesday's Vintage Pick of the Day is almost enough to get your heart pumping into its target range. This vintage 1980 swimsuit by Oscar de la Renta is bursting with color and style, and it's a great piece of fashion and fitness inspiration for a vintage fashionista. Available at Posh Vintage. If you're the sort of vintage fashionista who starts shopping for her one-of-a-kind party dress 6 months in advance, or who can identify a Lillian coat from 2 blocks away, you're probably not the type who's happy to wheel a plain black carry-on luggage piece through LAX or JFK like millions of other travelers. No, you'll want your luggage to have just as much pizzazz and personality as your wardrobe. So Thursday's Vintage Pick of the Day is for you. This vintage 1960s Samsonite Fashionaire luggage set will be easy to spot at Baggage Claim with its eye-catching floral print and black and white graphics. The set's a powerful travel fashion statement for a vintage fashionista. It's available from Evenflow on Etsy. Old MacDonald had a farm, but it was nothing like the factory farms that produce most of the beef, chicken, pork, and lamb that are served in America today. Just this week, for instance, the Humane Society of America released a video showing workers abusing chickens at 2 of our nation's largest egg farms. Now, I myself have been a vegetarian for well over a decade, but I'm not going to tell you or anyone else what to do. But I do encourage you to make all of your choices, whether they be fashion or diet choices, with awareness. So I recommend these 4 books to help get you educated about where the food on your plate comes from. Food Rules, a short set of memorable rules for eating wisely by one of our nation's most trusted journalists. Eating Animals, an extraordinary investigation into the horrors of factory farming and compelling arguments both for and against vegetarianism, all triggered when a man becomes a father. Diet for a Hot Planet, an exploration of the role industrial farming plays in today's climate crisis. And Food Inc., a participant guide, a series of essays from leading thinkers that are a follow-up to the successful documentary of the same title. Once these books get you thinking about farms and where the food on your plate comes from every day, you may just be inspired to grab Friday's Vintage Pick of the Day. This vintage 1950s dress sports a print that depicts farm animals living in glee, sort of like they used to on Old MacDonald's farm before overcrowding and abuse became issues. There's something so unexpected and interesting about the juxtaposition of this kitschy print with the standard sarong design. It's a scenic little find for an eco-aware vintage fashionista. I'm Mary Kincaid of Zuburbia Green Vintage, and that concludes this week's selections. Remember, you can sign up to receive the Vintage Pick of the Day for free via email, along with detailed size, price, and purchase information. To sign up or to shop for beautiful hand-selected vintage clothing, visit us at Zuburbia.com.